If you think prison is brutal, you haven't seen anything yet. Today, we're counting down 10 of the world's most ruthless, terrifying, and inescapable prisons. From Russia's notorious Black Dolphin, home to serial killers guarded behind 3 steel doors, to Syria's Saydnaya Prison, described by survivors as a human slaughterhouse. These facilities are nightmarish fortresses of despair. Imagine a prison where inmates sleep standing up, where torture is routine, and where overcrowding pushes human limits. Stick around till the end, because the last prison on our list is so secure and merciless, even the guards don't feel safe. Let's begin. Number 10. Goulburn Correctional Centre, Australia. At first glance, this might not look like a fortress of despair, but make no mistake, Goulburn Correctional Centre is home to Australia's most dangerous offenders. Located in New South Wales, it houses serial killers, terrorists, and gang leaders in its infamous Supermax unit. Inmates are confined 22 hours a day, monitored through soundproof, windowless cells. Isolation is the default, not the punishment. Some prisoners have gone years without touching another human being. Mental breakdowns? Common. And violence, while rare inside the Supermax, is always a whisper away. Escape is considered impossible with 5-meter-high walls, motion detectors, and infrared cameras. But what makes Goulburn terrifying isn't just the security, it's the eerie silence. Prisoners don't scream, they don't talk, they wait. And in this place, waiting is the cruelest punishment of all. Number 9. Nairobi Prison, Kenya. Built during colonial rule, Nairobi Prison was never meant to house this many people. Yet today it's overflowing with more than 3 times its intended capacity. Inmates are jammed shoulder to shoulder with barely any room to sit or sleep. Sanitation? Forget it. Diseases spread faster than news. What's worse? Many of these inmates haven't even been convicted. They're stuck in limbo, waiting months, sometimes years, for a court date that may never come. The prison is known for its brutal conditions and lack of resources. Food is scarce, water is filthy, and violence is often the only way to survive. Cell phones, weapons, and even drugs circulate through the system like currency. Guards are underpaid and overwhelmed. Corruption thrives, and if you're lucky enough to survive a year inside Nairobi Prison, you'll leave with something far worse than a criminal record. You'll carry the scars of institutional neglect, both visible and hidden. Number 8. Manila City Jail, Philippines. Imagine a space designed for 1,000 inmates, now cram in over 5,000. That's Manila City Jail. One of the most overcrowded prisons in the world, it's more than a correctional facility, it's a human pressure cooker. Prisoners sleep in stairwells, under bunks, even in the bathroom. They rotate shifts just to lie down. Diseases like tuberculosis and skin infections run rampant due to the unbearable heat and poor sanitation. Fights erupt daily, often over basic needs, like a spot on the floor or a spoonful of rice. The jail is divided by gang territories, so crossing the wrong line could mean instant death. Shockingly, a huge percentage of the inmates here haven't been convicted yet. They're just stuck, awaiting trials that move at a snail's pace. For many, surviving Manila City Jail isn't about serving time, it's about hoping time doesn't serve you. Number 7. Porto Penitentiary, Brazil. Brazil's prisons are notorious for violence, but Porto takes it to another level. This high-security facility in Rondônia is ground zero for gang warfare, where drug cartels run entire blocks and rule with iron fists. Riots are a regular occurrence, with inmates setting fire to cells, mutilating rivals, and even decapitating enemies to send a message. Guards rarely intervene. They're outnumbered and often under orders to simply observe. The prison is poorly maintained with frequent power outages and water shortages. Hygiene is non-existent and medical care is laughable. The facility is severely overcrowded, which only fuels the tension. And if you think escaping is impossible, think again. Digging tunnels is practically a tradition here. Authorities have discovered multiple escape routes, some leading directly to gang safe houses. If there's one rule inside Porto it's this: pick a side, because neutrality? That'll get you killed. Number 6. Lante Prison, France. Paris may be known for romance and culture, but Lante is a dark underbelly. Hidden behind the city's elegant streets is one of Europe's most feared prisons. It's not just the high walls and steel doors, it's the psychological toll. Lante is infamous for its hell cells, where inmates once went weeks without sunlight, ventilation, or human contact. In the 1990s, suicide rates skyrocketed. In 1 year alone, over 100 inmates tried to take their own lives. It got so bad that former prisoners described it as a place that kills the soul. A recent renovation tried to address some of these issues, but the past still lingers. Corruption, violence, and abuse are deeply ingrained. And even though the cells are less grim today, the mental trauma remains. In Lante, prisoners don't just lose their freedom, they lose themselves. Number 5. El Salvador's Mega Prison. Welcome to the largest prison in the Americas, the Terrorism Confinement Center, or CECOT. Built in 2023 by President Nayib Bukele as part of his war on gangs, this place was designed for one thing: complete control. CECOT holds over 40,000 suspected gang members, including those from MS-13 and Barrio 18. It's a maximum security fortress where inmates are shaved bald, tattooed, and stripped of identity. Cells are crammed with 100 prisoners, and there are no beds, just metal slabs and concrete floors. There's no yard time, no visitation, no rehabilitation. Surveillance is 24/7, and any hint of rebellion is crushed immediately. Human rights groups have raised alarms about torture, beatings, and indefinite detention without trial. But the government insists it's working. Crime rates have dropped dramatically. Still, critics ask, at what cost? In CECOT, freedom doesn't just end, it's erased. Number 4. Guantanamo Bay Detention Camp, Cuba. Mention Guantanamo Bay and you're bound to spark controversy. Established after 9/11 to house terror suspects, this U.S. military prison quickly gained notoriety for what happened behind closed doors. Detainees were held here without trial, some for over a decade. And the treatment? Harsh doesn't begin to cover it. We're talking sleep deprivation, forced feedings, stress positions, and psychological warfare. Waterboarding became the symbol of Guantanamo's darkest practices. While the U.S. insists the camp follows international law, human rights organizations call it a legal black hole. Even today, despite efforts to shut it down, Guantanamo still operates, housing a small group of high-risk detainees under extreme conditions. And here's the twist. Many of the men held here were never charged with a crime. Their fate? Endless uncertainty. Number 3. Saydnaya Prison, Syria. If hell had a postcode, it would be Saydnaya. Located just north of Damascus, this prison is infamous for one thing: silence. And not the peaceful kind, the enforced kind. Inmates are forbidden from speaking, even whispering, and if they do, torture follows. Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International describe Saydnaya as a slaughterhouse. Executions happen regularly, often without warning. Former detainees speak of starvation, beatings, electrocutions, and being kept in total darkness for months. One chilling report estimates that over 13,000 people have been secretly executed there since the Civil War began. And that's just what we know. Guards act with complete impunity. There are no rules, no oversight, no escape. Prisoners vanish into its walls, never to be heard from again. At Saydnaya, the goal isn't punishment, it's erasure. And in this house of horrors, survival is a miracle few achieve. Number 2. ADX Florence, USA. Nicknamed the Alcatraz of the Rockies, ADX Florence is the most secure prison in the United States, and arguably the world. Home to terrorists, gang leaders, and the most dangerous criminals, this place doesn't mess around. Inmates spend 23 hours a day in solitary confinement, in concrete cells the size of a parking space. No windows, no human contact, and meals slid through a slot. This place is so isolated, even the guards barely interact. In fact, communication is considered a security risk. Notable inmates include the Unabomber, 9/11 conspirators, and cartel leaders. Prisoners here don't get yard time in the traditional sense. They get 1 hour in a fenced concrete pit with no view of the sky. It's sensory deprivation turned up to 11. Escape is impossible. Rehabilitation? Unlikely. In fact, ADX is where the U.S. government sends people to disappear. Number 1. Black Dolphin Prison, Russia. Welcome to the end of the line. Black Dolphin Prison sits on the Kazakhstan border and is home to the worst of the worst: cannibals, serial killers, and terrorists. Guards here operate under extreme protocol. Inmates are blindfolded when moved and forced to walk bent over so they can't memorize routes. Cells have triple steel doors, 24/7 surveillance, and hourly checks, day and night. Prisoners are never allowed to rest during daylight hours. They must stand or sit upright, always under watch. Conversations are forbidden. Even meals are consumed through a narrow slit. There's no contact. No warmth, no hope. In fact, the average sentence is life, and no one has ever escaped. Not one. The former warden's words still echo: you leave Black Dolphin in one of two ways: after your sentence ends, or in a box. It's not just a prison, it's the abyss. And for its inmates, it's the last stop before oblivion. So, would you survive a week inside any of these prisons? Let us know in the comments which one shocked you the most. And hey, if you made it this far, consider subscribing. We've got more chilling, real-world stories coming your way. Until next time, stay safe and maybe stay out of trouble.